Let's see, Susan, guess what I got? You Beyond Limit certificate, girlfriend. Oh,
all right.
and good thing I brought my pen out. I know, because she said, I don't think I got my certificate. Now what this is for, Susan attended a class, and I know, and so she completed it, and this is your certificate of completion. Congratulations.
Yes! Woo!
And Susan learned how to hug when she came here. I love it, so great. Thank you, Susan.
Yes!
Okay, so Roxy, Angel Superstar,
Oh, I have something too?
you have for starting practitioner 1.
Oh, right.
Look out, world.
I know, right?
I know. It doesn't know what it's called. For.
Yeah, and trust me, it's a wild ride.
It is a
And yeah, so turn around, face your audience. Practitioner training is really learning how to become a spiritual counselor, and so you don't have to go get your MFCC or anything, but it's kind of a way for them to learn how to do a kind of counseling that we do it from the present time, rather than trying to dig up things from the past. We're doing it from the current, and then looking at what can shift now. And so it's really a whole different way of being. And it was fascinating. I had somebody come that hasn't been here in quite a while, and they called me for a practitioner session. And I loved it because in a matter of, I think he only had 30 minutes, and we got it done in 30 minutes. It was fantastic. So, and he walked out going, that was great, Rev. So it's really a great way to get yourself aligned, because as Darrell Lynn and I were talking one day, we said that we use prayer, but we do it in such a way, it's what we call prayer treatment, but it's a process. And it's just like a systematic, organized prayer treatment so that it will shift us as we say it and as we do it. So it's kind of a full way to do it. And with that, I think I am going to do my talk.
Yes, you are.
I am. Okay, so I had to find it. Which one do I want to do?
That girl up there, she's got the same color dress you have on.
Oh, so I'm going to get rid of the two. Yeah, I agree with those colors. Anyway, so this one, let's see. Oh, this was a great one. All right. So 4 Catholic ladies. Anybody recovering Catholics in here? Okay. 4 Catholic ladies are having coffee together, discussing how important their children are. First one tells her friends, my son is a priest. When he walks into a room, everyone calls him Father. The second Catholic woman chirps, well, my son is a bishop. Whenever he walks into a room, people say, Your Grace.
Wow.
The third Catholic woman says smugly, well, not to put yours down, but my son is a cardinal. Whenever he walks into a room, people say, Your Eminence.
Wow.
The fourth Catholic woman sips her coffee, then replies, my son is a gorgeous, 6'2", hard-bodied male stripper. Whenever he walks into a room, people say, oh my God. I like that one. Okay. All right. Well, you know, we were last week when Stace was giving his talk, and maybe it was during the workshop, he was talking about cleaning out your spiritual closet. And I go, what the heck does he mean by that? And we talked a little bit further about that during the workshop. And what he said was sometimes there's practices that we're doing, and I know I've had this happen in the last probably year, that aren't working anymore. And so maybe there's another way or something else, or maybe to shift it a touch. Kind of like when we were doing the artwork yesterday, maybe if I just add a little alcohol, it'll shift the look of it. So I was thinking about that.
That works for people that are at a bar too.
Well, that's true. That is very true. That's it. That's it. But what happens is that when we have a practice and we're getting kind of rote with it and we're not feeling the juice in it anymore, what I realized is that maybe we need to shift it up. So instead of meditating, you're sitting down and meditating. Maybe you want to take a walking meditation. Maybe you want to do a chanting meditation. Maybe you want to do a visualization. You know, maybe you want to do contemplation. There's all different things that you can do. So as I was being with this the last 3 or 4 days with this talk title, it's interesting, I had a member that moved actually by me in La Crescenta, and he calls me and he said, you know, Rev, I just want to tell you that all the work that I did, you know, it's really helped me, but some of my spiritual practices aren't working anymore. And I said, wow, thanks God, you know, you're bringing me the perfect thing for me to say in my talk. And he shared that he still does a lot of the practices that he's always done, but what he added was Reiki. And he said, I couldn't believe that that practice or that process was going to shift me and to grow me and to allow me to move into another level of spiritual development. And I said, wow. And so we talked for about, I don't know, I was driving down from here to Ventura, so we got to talk for about 40 minutes. And it was great because I said, you know what, it's true. And after Bryce said that, I said, you know, I need to look at what I'm doing and what can I add? You know, what can I let go of a little bit or maybe shift? And what can I add to my spiritual closet that would assist me and help me work? Well, I'm going to do a little bit more contemplation. I used to do it years ago, and it was actually a way for me to develop my own intuition and my own development of hearing the divine and hearing spirit. And when I contemplate, I'm just being present, I'm looking at the trees, whatever it is, it's a very simple thing. And I actually got a new process from Joanna's class, and it was much that George said. I had to be present to it, and you know, I didn't like something, so I took alcohol and I wiped it off and then I started over. But there was no judgment. It was only just being in that moment in pure joy. But yesterday, you know, I was guided to watch, I don't know if you watch Oprah's Master Class. And the Master Class is where she brings people who are fairly well known. Some of them you don't know, you know, if you're not in that area. But she was interviewing or had Steve Harvey talk about his life. Do you know who Steve Harvey is? Mm-hmm. If you don't know, he calls himself the Nike Swish because he's everywhere, just like the Nike logo. Mm-hmm. He said, you see Nike in Dubai, you see Nike in France, you see Nike in the United States. He said, so I'm the black Nike Swish. No. And I said, oh, I like that. That's really kind of cool. Because he was told at one time that if he oversaturated himself, it wasn't going to work. But you know, he's on radio, he's on TV like all the time. He's on, what is it, Family Feud, I think? And
yes.
He does a talk show, mm-hmm. and he's on all these different shows, and he's totally oversaturated, but he loves it. Because when he was growing up, he said that his father talked about working hard and being a man, and he said, don't let any man outwork you.
Wow.
Wow. And so this man, no man's outworking him, I'm telling you.
Wow.
You know? But one of the things I loved about it is that he talked about how his mother, you know, his dad not so much, but his mom gave him that deep trust and faith in God. And I'm going to share a little bit of his story, not the whole thing because it would take too long, but I want to share a few pieces that really would help us spiritually develop and be aware of how we can be compassionate and loving toward others. So he said his main tenets are faith, discipline, and hard work. And I thought, okay, and we don't necessarily have to do hard work. I don't necessarily believe in hard work, but I believe in working to a way that it's a way where we can have what we desire in our lives. We don't have to work ourselves to the bone. Obviously, that was ingrained in him by his dad. But we can work in a way that serves us and our soul. So he was talking about in school that he was, I think he was, how old was he? 6 years old, and that he had a stutter. And I don't know if any of you ever had stutters when you were a little kid, but he stuttered when he was nervous. He said, I didn't stutter when I was around my friends or my family, but I stuttered when I got nervous. So he was in school one day, and the teacher said, write down what you want to be when you grow up. And so the kids were writing down policemen or firemen or, whatever, doctor. And then he wrote down, I want to be on TV. 6 years old. This is his soul telling him, I want to be, write it down. You're going to be on TV. And that was like a vision of what he was going to have in the future. So what happened is he turned in the papers, and the teacher took all the papers, reading them, and then sees his. And she says, Steve Harvey, you come up here right now. And he thought, oh, she's going to acknowledge me. Oh, I can't wait, she never acknowledges me. And instead of acknowledging him, she started to humiliate him in front, yes, that's why I'm sharing the story, in front of all the other children. How dare you? You are smarty pants. How dare you say you're going to be on TV? How dare you? Do you know anybody in your family that's on TV? You know anybody, and she kept going on, do you know anybody in your neighborhood? Do you know anybody like you that stutters? Are
Wow.
they going to be on TV? Yeah, can you imagine? I'm just getting
She needs to be horseshit.
And he's like almost crying while he's telling the story. He's a grown man now, okay? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did any of you have a teacher that did that to you?
Uh-huh.
I did too. And you know what? I know. And I hope that the teachers listening right now, take a little note, please. Be loving kindness. And what happened is that she said, you're a smart aleck, and I'm going to send you to the principal's office. And then I'm sending a note home with your mother, because I will not tolerate that behavior.
Wow.
So he gets home and he goes, oh, I'm in trouble now. My daddy's going to give me a whooping. And so what happens, he gets home and the mother says, I can't believe you were doing that. And he said, but Mama, all I did was write down I want to be on TV. Well, you're being a smart aleck. And so the dad gets home and she says, do you believe that? Joel, or whatever his name was. And he says, okay, I'll manage it. And he said, so what's wrong with putting down he wants to be on TV? And she says, well, he's being a smart aleck. And he said, I don't believe that's the truth. So he takes Steve aside and he says, listen, son, he goes, what did the other kids write down? He goes, oh, firemen or policemen, and he goes, write that down and take that to your teacher. But take your slip of paper that says, I'm going to be on TV, you put it in your drawer in your room, and every morning you open up that drawer, you look at it, and say, I'm going to be on TV.
Wow.
So there was God, or there was Spirit, helping him and giving him that little boost, because it was his soul really telling him, you're going to be on TV? Come on, brother. 6 years old, and he already knew it. And I thought that was so beautiful. But, the thing about the teacher or anyone that does that to somebody else, when I was talking to this individual yesterday, I said, sometimes, and unfortunately he had to do it because he was in school, but we've got to be careful about how we give our vision and what we desire in our lives, because people invariably in our society, I hate to say it, not in this circle, but they will put you down or say something like, oh, you could never do that. You'll never make it. You're going to be oversaturated, kind of like what they did to Steve Harvey. Well, he learned that because of his dad. When I write things down, when I vision on it, I can create it to happen. And that was really the beautiful lesson. But what I said to him yesterday when I was on that conversation, I said, you've got to be careful that you don't put your dreams and your hopes in front of somebody that isn't wanting you to expand and grow and have that for you. Be very, very careful, because if you do that, there may be somebody like that teacher that will put you down, that will stop you from having your vision. And what we do here, we allow you to have your vision, we allow you to grow, because we believe that you can have anything you want. And sometimes people say something and I've caught myself going, well, I don't know. And then I go, you know what? Possible. It's possible. And that's all you need to say. It's possible. And we let go of that. We let go of the judgment and we let go of the criticism. Because we were taught, at least I was taught, I'm going to just say me, I was taught that, you're in this little box and don't go outside of it. Don't go outside of it. If you go outside of it, it's not good. And I realized my whole life, I went outside of the box. And as we go outside of the box, that's where we have the beautiful things from Spirit showing up for us. That's where we say, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to sell my art. I mean, I don't know, Joanna, if it was like really easy for you. It wasn't. And now she's selling her pieces to businessmen and offices, and she sold some yesterday during her class. Yes! So it's great because she listened to her heart and her soul and how she feels when she creates this art. Well, the other story about Steve Harvey, he made some mistakes, and we all make mistakes. And what was the thing he said yesterday? He says, but those mistakes are the things that help us to grow and have what we desire in our lives. Because without those mistakes, how are we going to learn? How are we going to have what we desire if we don't make those mistakes and learn what not to do? So he's a comedian, right? Do you all know that? And he was watching a comedian bomb at a comedy club. And the other comedian said, why are you out there watching him bomb? And he said, well, I'm sitting here because I want to see how the next comedian brings his audience out and how they make them laugh, because this guy has the room silent. So I'm watching to see the technique that this man's going to use, or woman, to bring this room back up to a level where they're laughing and they're joyful again. I thought, wow, that's cool. So learn from that. The other thing that happened for him, and I thought, whoa, he went to a comedy club, and he was older. I think he was in his 20s, and he had no idea that they existed, because in his world, he never went to a comedy club. So he went, and he won that night, and he won the audition off and won $50. And he goes, this is it. This is my path. I'm going to be a comedian. So he goes in to his boss the next day, and he says, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to be a comedian. And the boss says, are you crazy? You're never going to make it, does all the thing that I said, and probably because of the teacher, he's like, well, that's it. Now I'm really going to do it.
Yeah.
So, but what happened, he said, that was probably the worst move of my life. And so he wasn't really listening with his heart, and he wasn't listening to divine guidance. He was listening to his head. And he ended up being homeless in his car for 2 years.
Wow. So
I know. And he said he left his family, he couldn't support them, and he had a wife and little twin girls, and he eventually, he's obviously created a relationship with them now. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, some of us would say, well, that was really stupid to quit his job. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was divine guidance. And maybe he was supposed to go through those 2 years in order to have what he needed to develop himself as a comedian. So here's the story. He's ready to give up, and he says, oh no, 3 years. Oh my gosh, it was 3 years living in his car. He never told his mother. So he left a phone machine, the old answering phone machines, in his mom's basement. So he would call and see if he got a comedy gig. And so he was like, oh, you know what, I give up. It's 3 years, I am done. And sometimes then God will go, uh-oh, okay, I guess it's time to give the boy a blessing. So anyway, what happened is he got a phone call from somebody to give him a comedy gig. And it was at the Apollo Theater. But he had to get himself from Florida to New York. And he was going to be able to headline the Apollo Theater. Well, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, good. And he's going, oh, bad. I have no money. How am I going to get there? Then he's still checking his answer machine. The next call is, I have a gig for you. It's only an hour away. Would you like to do it? I'll pay you $150. Steve's like, yeah, I could drive an hour and make $150. And he said that was on a Thursday night, and the gig at the Apollo was on Sunday night. I want you to get how Spirit, how God will bring it to us when we're just holding ourselves in that space. I'm going to do my passion. I'm going to do my soul's purpose. So he does the $150, and they loved him so much The guy says, you know what? Can you stay here one more night? I'll give you another $300.
Wow.
And Steve goes, oh, you betcha. And so he did that. So $450 in his pocket. He got himself to New York, was the host of the Apollo Theater, and that is when his career took off.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful? So he said, failure is valuable gained experience, teaching you what not to do. Teaching you what not to do. I love that. And the last thing, he married a woman and they had a blended family. He has a lot of children and she had a lot of children. And one of the things she said to the kids, use your wings because I'm going to let you fail. Use your wings. You go fly, you may fall out of the nest, fail, because that's the way that you're going to learn and grow and become something. And he and his wife never, ever, ever bailed him out. And we were talking about this on Sunday, at the workshop. So with that, I wanted to do a ritual today, and this is dissolving paper. So Diana, would you mind passing that out? There's 2 baskets and there's pencils. So with that, I've talked about a couple things, but talking about developing yourself in a way where you're happier, where you're more joyful. And with that, let's look at, in our lives, write down on the paper, take 2 papers, by the way, write down on the paper, 1 is, what would you like to let go of? What is something in your life that you want to let go of? Like for me, I caught myself and I go, wow, I'm really, why do I have a little bit of jealousy around that? Or why do I have, so maybe it's something like that. Or maybe it's anger. What do you want to let go of? And then what do you want to claim in the place of that? Because energetically, when you let go of something, let's replace it with something else, okay? And then as we do that, we're able to create that in our lives. So be with, what do you want to let go of? And then what do you want to replace it with?
Thank you
Which
so
is
much.
exactly what we do in spiritual
This is so
prayer,
special
our spiritual
paper.
mind treatment prayer. Okay, so what you're going to do is bring your 2 pieces of paper up. There's water in that bowl.
Oh, you write what you want to give up.
And what do you want to
And what do you
claim
want
or
to claim?
replace it with?
Yes.
And then you write those down. So put the first one in first. Watch it dissolve, because it will.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's all gone.
Hello.
Hello and welcome. Hello, joy, or hello, love, whatever you want to say. I like that.
Do you put them both in the same bowl?
Yes, you do. Because it's all one anyway. It all comes from one source. So put in the one you want to let go of. Be present to it. Just take a moment. And then embrace and feel that quality that you're embracing. Allow it to go into your heart and your body. And allow yourself to feel it. Because as you do that, yes, as you do that, then it's going to energetically come into your life, okay? So as everyone is doing this, and you can buy this paper online, it's dissolving paper. It's cool, yeah, I know, it's really nice. So I have sheets of it, and I looked at it yesterday, and I thought this would be a cool thing to do. Yep, beautiful. All right. Lovely. And that's another way of cleaning out your spiritual closet, is that you're letting go of something that doesn't serve you anymore, and you're claiming that spiritual quality, and you want to have more of that. I know, and if if you just swish your finger, watch, and that stuff will just be gone. I know, it's great. Well, you'll see the residue. No, right? Look at that. Hey. So claim it. Let go of what you don't want. Feel that energy in your body. Beautiful. And hello, joy. Hello, love. And it is biodegradable, so we can put it in the garden. Okay, is everybody gone? George, ready?
I'm almost,
Almost ready? Okay. She's writing a book there.
I'm related to a lot of Steve Harvey's stuff.
Oh, man, so did I. I was like crying watching him. It was just like, oh, I got chills watching that program. Okay. So let's close with the prayer. Yes, everybody all complete? Everybody have their in here? Okay, good. Oh. So thank you, God, thank you, Spirit, for the divine guidance that you're always giving us. And I declare and claim that whatever it is that we have all released, it's gone. We have just sent it away. It is no longer necessary in our lives. And I accept and I say yes to all the beautiful qualities that we have now embraced. They're filling our mind, our body, our heart, and our soul. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. I am so grateful for all the love and the guidance that you are always giving us. So I simply release this prayer into the infinite, infinite hands of Spirit. We say together.
And so it is.
Amen.
Amen.
So thank you, everybody.
All right.
Blessings on you